Welcome to the People, Passion, and Purpose podcast, where you will hear from creative small business owners in the trenches every single day, talking story, talking lessons, talking failures, talking truth. I'm your host, Nina L. Kovner. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Katie Tellor, to the podcast. Katie is a hairdresser, educator, salon owner, and leader of 2 awesome salons in Texas. Katie, welcome. Thank you so much for opening up your Sunday morning to us. I'm so grateful to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that you asked me on.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. So let's dive into it because I have a ton of questions for you. What inspired you to get into hairdressing? What brought you into this beautiful business?
Well, it's funny because, you always hear about these amazing hairstylists that are like, I've been doing hair since I was 11 years old. I was doing my mom's root color, Yes. I was not that. I went to college for a couple of years. That was the wish of my parents because, they thought, of course, that you can't make any money doing hair.
Yes.
Which is super cute of them. So now they're like, wow, we had no idea that, it could be such an awesome industry. So I went to college and quickly realized that just wasn't my path. And I wanted to do something more creative. And I was like, well, I've always been interested in, in hair, I get my hair done.
Right.
It's really the extent. Yeah. And so I was like, I went to the Aveda Institute in Minneapolis, where they give such a good education and the training is really top notch. And I really excelled there. And so I quickly realized that was definitely the right path for me. And so I never looked back. It's been a great ride.
Wow. Have you always wanted to be a salon owner? When you had that first experience in beauty school, did you know early on that you wanted to be a salon owner and then owner of 2 salons?
Well, so I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so it's definitely not as scary of a idea for me and my family. It's just kind of what we do. So that wasn't necessarily the initial plan. I knew that it would be a long time for that to happen, but I figured that it probably would someday. So yeah, and it's been great. I love
that you have that entrepreneurial gene.
Yes, I love it too. We're very business-minded people and really nimble and what we do. So I was kind of raised.
What do you think is there something that some sort of traits or things that you saw early on as a young person? Is it courage? Is it, you said nimble. What is it? What is it about you and people like you that just dive in to shit when others are like, oh my God, I could never?
It's the lack of fear, so I remember when I was opening the first salon and I was super stressed about, what was going to happen. What if it fails? What if it doesn't go as planned? And my mom was like, well, you just filed bankruptcy. It's not a big it's fine. I was like, oh, okay. Well, when you put it like that, how can you argue? So I don't think I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. But,
No.
Yeah. So it's just that lack of fear and courage.
A lot of courage. Yeah. I like to think of, I feel like fear, for me, fear is legit. I think I wake up daily with some level of fear. For me, what allowed me to take that next step with Passion Squared is really, okay, so I'm afraid, but look at all the opportunity I have to help other people. And I see that so much in you, watching you as a leader and business owner is you have put that passion for building and growing other people ahead of any of the challenges, because we know ownership and leadership comes with lots of challenges. You seem to put the people in, ahead of that fear.
Yeah,
or whatever.
That's my favorite part. Sure. Like I have 3 of my employee stylists in my commission salon. 3 right now, all at the same time, are buying their first homes. And that just like makes my heart explode. Like I'm so happy that they're doing so well here that they can do that. It's just so awesome.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about so you have 2 salons right now. One's employment based and one is lease based. So you are working with both models at the same time. Can you share with us a little bit about what inspired you to have both models, and is there anything you wish you would have known before opening either or both, whatever?
Yeah, so that has always been my plan from day one, was to do that. Just because that was the path of my career, was to, I started out in commission salons. I worked in commission salons for 7 years. And then I had to leave because I was ready to rent. And so then I went to a different booth rental salon. And then after that, I went into a suite prior to opening the salon. And so that's also on my radar, is to eventually open like a suite type salon, because I think that that's just, that's what some stylists, that's their path, is to go that direction.
Yes.
So, it was planned from the get-go to do that. So we started out, what we actually started out was at the original location, is that we were a hybrid salon. So there were these renters that I had worked with in the past that I knew would be a good fit into a hybrid salon, because I think that that's delicate. I think that it doesn't always work depending on it. It's actually, I think, very, very hard to find that. And so I had these handful of renters who I knew would be great, who I knew would work. They're still with me, all of them. And they're such great like mentors that I wanted for, some of the commission stylists to have something to like look up to as well. So I brought them in. So we were a hybrid. And then the plan was to open a second location nearby that would be the rental salon, and then they would be split. So that's exactly what we did. It has worked amazing. The transition was completely seamless, and, it went really well. And so both salons now they're just killing it in both locations. So obviously the rental salon is easier to manage, because, well, really I'm not managing, I'm landlording over there. So they're definitely a lot easier. The commission salon definitely is like much more from like a time and emotional, financial perspective. But that's okay. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I guess really one of the biggest things that I wasn't prepared for with the kind of commission environment was, the HR part. I thought day one that the hard part would be like the clients, managing clients.
Yes.
Boy, was I wrong. So, but I do have a great team of people, there's no issues with them. They're just,
people. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really, I think, been the biggest thing I needed to learn, was all that stuff. Because it doesn't come naturally to me, that part. I'm like, just show up, leave your ship, at the door. Rock up some hair, go home, and it's just not that way all the time. So
How do you navigate having these two businesses, even though obviously the models are different, the requirements are different in terms of you, but you are one person. You also are an educator. You also are still doing hair, and you've got these two businesses. How do you navigate that? How do you pay attention to everybody? How do systems, like, do you have a leadership team that helps you keep it all together? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I definitely learned early on that I can't do it all. I'm just like the typical Capricorn, like, workhorse. And I learned that you can't. You can't with that many people. So I actually hired a gal probably a year and a half ago. She's a client. I've done her hair for like 12 years, and she's fabulous. And her kids were grown up. So she's like, I'd kind of like to get back to work. And I was like, well, come in and work front desk a little bit, And she's like, oh my gosh, I would love that, So she did. She works about, for 6 months, she worked at the front desk, and she just like excelled. So we moved her into a management position about 6 months later. And without her, I don't know what would happen. It would be really, really hard. So I'm so appreciative for her. That's necessary, I think. And then I've got Michael, who's our director of cutting education. So I was teaching all the classes every other Sunday. I was in the salon doing like all day classes with, our junior team members and our assistants. And it was just getting to be too much time involved for me. So I brought Michael in, who is just like the most amazing cutter I've ever seen. And he took over all the cutting classes, and he built all the curriculums. And so we kind of flip-flop there. He'll teach one class, and then I'll teach the next. And it's really, really helped with that too.
That's awesome. Speaking of assistants, you have an amazing assistant program. Are there any words of wisdom you can share with us around working with and growing assistants? It's such a common question we get so often.
It's really hard. I started in my suite. I hired my first assistant, and I really didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, I have the lovely Amber O'Hara, who kind of helped guide through of that, navigate, training wise, kind of, what to focus on. And so it was really, really good to start with just one in that suite and start, putting together the classes and what we're going to be teaching. And then when the salon opened, we were completely ready. So I think that the most important thing is making it so they are not just like the salon bitch. The fastest way to, lose these awesome people. And, part of the job is doing laundry. It's just what it is. So, but making sure that, I tell them all the time, if you have downtime, I want you watching everyone.
Yes.
Like one day watch Emily, one day watch Trish, and just hand them foils and get up in it. So on a daily basis, it's really good that they're learning daily. And then we do our classes every other Sunday, and the education calendar is planned for the year. And they have to bring models for the classes. Sometimes we do extensions, sometimes we do cuts, sometimes color, sometimes business, Instagram. And so they're really getting, everything. And the whole program is about a year. I've had a few that just like excelled so quickly that it was a little bit shorter than that, like 8 or 9 months. But yeah, it's about a year program for them to get everything. And then by the time we have them going on the floor, they are ready. Like they are ready to take our clients here. Like They
awesome.
know they know the way we do our foils. They know the way we do our balayage, so that there's that consistency there, because I think that's really, really important.
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
absolutely.
clients come in and they're totally fine. Like they'll come, one of my clients, they can't get in with me. They're totally fine to go to someone else. And it's worked really well.
So I hear you saying that you obviously have a formal program, you have job descriptions, you have a training calendar, you have a clear on the content of that training. That's the promise, right? That's the promise that if I come assist at Abstract, that's what's going to happen. And and you and I have actually talked about this before. I think in my experience, I was a salon bitch, but we called my job shampoo chick. That was in the 80s. And I've talked about this before. It was my favorite job. I think still to this day, I loved it. I loved everything about it. And even though I did go to beauty school, I learned so much in that year that I assisted and did the laundry and swept the floors and booked clients. And this was pre-internet, pre-Instagram, pre-everything. And I learned so much. And I think that we have to get back to and understand that this is a job. This is a job, and this is a promise on behalf of your brand. And to just hire someone and just hope that they kind of get it is truly insanity. Okay, let's talk about growing. So you guys are very, very strong on social, particularly Instagram. Can you share a little bit with us about when you jumped on the Instagram train and how social media or digital media or Instagram in particular has helped your personal brand along with the Abstract brand?
Yeah, so I didn't get on Instagram until about a year prior to opening the salon. I had a full clientele because I've been doing hair in this town for, at that time, like 15 years. So it wasn't like I was trying to get all this new clientele. But after I met Amber, I learned a lot from her about Instagram early on. And it really, I just started taking pictures and they weren't good pictures because I didn't know how to take a picture, but, I put it out there and then it just started growing. It was really kind of like cool, I was like, wow, people like my pictures, so that was kind of the beginning of the social media game for me personally. And then when I knew that the salon was opening like 6 months prior, I opened up the salon Instagram and I just started sharing my pictures to it and getting that up and running. So I think by the time the salon opened, we had a pretty good little following. Now, of course, following doesn't matter because if your chairs are empty, then it doesn't matter like the follower count at all. But I definitely hit the radar of a lot of people in town. So, and then all my team, they just put out such amazing work. And we do classes here in the salon about Instagram, photography. I hired a photographer to come in one day and teach a class to them about how to take pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, a lot of these stylists, when they come here, they don't know much about it. So when we do these classes, we really just dive into like the hashtagging and the geotagging and all that stuff. And they all jump on board. And I tell them, I tell them, if you want new clients here, you have to do it. Like, because if you're not, they're going to go to the stylists who are participating in it. So, it's kind of not an option here just because the majority of our clients do come from Instagram. So, as far as, my personal brand, it has done, everything. I met Amber through,
Shout out to Amber O'Hara, who was our first guest on the podcast, by the way.
She was. I
Yes.
watched her pop.
Yes. Amber was our launch episode. It's been about a year and a half. We love Amber.
It's just, able to make connections, and it really, I just signed on with Hair Talk Extensions as their hand-tied expert, and we're launching hand-tied extensions with them. I'm helping them build the curriculum. It's super exciting. I love that company. So that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't, doing the Instagram game. And then as far as the salon page, I mean, it's just I try and post at least 5 times a week. Different pictures, and I rotate all the stylists, and every single new client that comes in the salon, it's when we ask, where did you hear about us? It's either Instagram or Yelp. So, it's awesome.
I love that. I love how you made it part of your culture. And that goes back to the discussion about the assistant program, is that because you are so clear on the abstract brand, because you are so clear on the culture, that's what people are joining. As you said, a question I get often is, how do I get my stylist to want to create content? Well, is it part of your culture? Is it part of your brand? Is it part of your training program? You're bringing in experts to train people on how to capture images more effectively. I mean, it's all interconnected. And I love how it's all kind of come out in this conversation. How it's connected. And I think we can see why, one of the reasons why you've been so successful. It's part of the promise. People join that and say yes to it from the beginning. So that's a big part of, obviously, of creating any successful business. So speaking of brand and culture, what does purpose mean to you?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question. Purpose. I mean, it's all, I think, like, I know I've heard you say this before, like, businesses sell shit, brands sell experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me is like the brand purpose of our salon is delivering them an experience that they remember and that they will never want to leave. It's just, I mean, they come in, we have artwork on the walls. That's one of the things that we do is we promote local artists, and that's definitely part of the brand is that art factor. And so just having like those sort of things in place makes that really easy for us.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have a favorite quote?
My favorite quote is, if you're doing it right, not everyone is going to like you.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where that quote came from?
No. I mean, well,
what do you love about it?
Actually, so I did have a business owner at one point before I opened the salon, did say that to me. I don't know where they got it from, but, I think that for me, that was really, really hard because I'm such a people pleaser. And that's one of the things that was a struggle is that, there are times that some of the staff is like, annoyed that I'm playing the same music on the salon playlist every day. It's like, it's like, I get it, but that's like our brand, is such a huge part of the brand is like the music, things like that. It's like, it's not always going to make everyone happy, but it's for the betterment of the brand and for the business and for the staff. It takes them a little bit longer to realize it sometimes. So.
Well, and I think I'm so glad you brought that up because I really think that when it comes to business, applying this to business, I think that once we do understand the purpose behind why we play consistent music, then it's not about then I get it. Like, explain why. It's almost like people talk about sometimes certain. I'm not a mother to a human, but I've heard parents say that there's like that point in a young person's life where they're like, why? And it's like, I feel the same way when it comes to brand. It's like, and Simon Sinek, shout out always to Simon Sinek, the author of Start With Why. When we do understand, when we have a deeper understanding around why you make the decisions that you make and why the culture is the way it is and why we foil this way and why we balayage this way and why we serve beverages this way and why we show up this way and why we use this language and why we do all those things, then it becomes not about I like it or I don't. It's like, yeah, I agree. I believe in what you believe. And that's very Seth Godin tribes, which I'll just give Seth a shout out. You know, what do you believe? And if I believe what you believe, then we begin to build a culture. We begin to build a tribe. If I don't, then it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. I'm never going to jump on board. It's such a big business lesson.
All those things. I mean, it's like, you guys, I'm not choosing this stuff. The brand, it's the brand.
Right.
Like, take it to the brand. You know? It's it. So, and then I was really happy because a couple weeks ago, one of my stylists just brought something to my attention, just something little. And she was like, I just want to protect the brand.
Oh.
And I was, that's like music to my ears, you know?
Is it weird that I'm like going to cry like at this very moment?
I know. It's like, exactly. You get it. So they do. They get it. Yeah. I know.
That's, I mean, what a great way to end this session. Oh my God. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. They get it. And so much of it, Katie, has to do with your leadership and your commitment and your consistency and showing up for them every day and just having such clarity and focus around your brand. Where can we find you on the internet? Can you share your pages with us?
Yeah. So my personal Instagram is Katie Tellor Hair. Tellor is spelled with O-R, not E-R at the end. And then my salon Instagram is Abstract Studio, and that's spelled with a K-T at the end of abstract, not C-T. So those are our handles.
Katie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Your story. We love you. We're so grateful for you. And I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Have an awesome day wherever you are. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. To learn more about Passion Squared, you can visit us at passionsquared.net. You can find us on the gram and on Facebook at Passion Squared. And be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. We're so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome day, guys. Love you.